Hello, my name is Kevin Becerra, and this is my service learning project that I did where I volunteered at Mission Arlington. So, this is the first slide, and then just a little picture of Mission Arlington itself at the front. Alright, next slide. So, the first slide, or second slide, being Mission Arlington itself as an organization. So, it's pretty much a nonprofit, like, charity, um, and it is located in Arlington. Um, they do offer a lot of services. At least for the volunteering section, I know they do offer like the donating section where cars pull up and they donate stuff, which would be clothing, items, food, and then they also have a furniture department or a furniture section. That's where I volunteered at. It's kind of like where people donate like all their furniture, which would be like mattresses, wardrobes, couches, etc. So all that stuff, and that's where I volunteered at. But they do have a good variety of services that they offer, and they are all free, of course. Um, and yeah, and then I mean the founder of Mission Arlington is Tilly Bergen, and she still is there today. You kind of see her walking around as well. Like when you're volunteering, she'll come around and say hi to everyone. But yeah, that's about it for Mission Arlington. It's a pretty good place. Next slide. All right, so textbook principle number one that I picked was levels of management. This is from chapter one. I chose this one because I feel like it was pretty easy to kind of see the actual levels of management at Mission Arlington. Obviously, like the top spot, which is the CEO spot, would be Tilly Bergen. Since she's like the founder and stuff, that would be her spot. She's kind of in charge of everything. And then you got your top managers, which would be pretty much like all the other staff that are kind of at the front desk and stuff. And then the middle managers and the first line managers would be kind of like the people in charge of us out there in the actual volunteer sections. But yeah, this is the first principle that I think was pretty applicable to Mission Arlington, having first line managers, middle managers, top managers, and CEOs. The second principle I picked was the big five personality traits. So the big five personality traits happen to be extroversion, negative affectivity, agreeableness, conscientiousness, and openness to experience. And this was from chapter three, which it kind of describes managers and their personalities. Um, at Mission Arlington, kind of the only people that I actually work with would be the first line supervisors that were in charge of us. And for our first line supervisor, it would be two older ladies, and they're pretty caring for the most part. So I think for them, they were definitely more on the agreeableness, just because they're kind of like your typical sweet old ladies that kind of looked out for everyone. And then here I added a picture kind of like the furniture section where I'd volunteer at. So it's kind of like where they would start with furniture. Next slide, textbook principle number three. So this one I chose suppliers and distributors. It's from chapter four. So obviously in every company organization, you're gonna have kind of the suppliers and distributors. So usually with the suppliers, they supply organizations or companies with raw materials. And then from there, every company or organization has their distributors that kind of actually distribute the services or products. And in this case, Mission Arlington, kind of the donators, people who actually donate their goods or like their stuff that they're going to donate, they're the actual suppliers. And then for actual distributors, it would actually be Mission Arlington because they are distributing, all like the goods or donate stuff they get. So the example I try to include here was that at least where I volunteered at, which is in the furniture section, you got donators that donate their furniture. So it'd be like, like the previous stuff I said, mattresses, couches, wardrobes, whatever. So we'd go pick them up in these trucks. I did include the picture here that I took. So they would bring in these box cars loaded with all the stuff, and we'd unload them, and then eventually people would come and kind of pick out what they want, and then eventually we'd take it to their house. So it is kind of a supply and distributor relationship as well with Mission Arlington. right, the next slide. So this is kind of the impact. So the personal impact, I guess it does give you a new perspective on life. Just kind of seeing, volunteering at this organization, you kind of see the people that that apply for these services, and it does kind of give you a new perspective on life because you are kind of more grateful for what you have. Yeah, become more humble. Um, I guess a work ethic is also another thing that I kind of gained from that. Just because you're actually, at least in the furniture section, you are lifting a lot, so you are moving a lot of wardrobes, a lot of mattresses, a lot of bed frames. So it is kind of tiring work, but it does give you that sense of achievement that you're actually doing something good for the community. The career impact. So I do want to become a U.S. Marshal Federal Agent. So I was not too sure on how this would impact my career, but I kind of came up with the idea that it does build character and it adds kind of to community service. So I mean, in a way, it does kind of apply to any career just because it's building you up. And then also just creating a servant leader, uh, regardless of your career or whatnot that you're gonna choose. You work like this does create servant leaders. So I think that is another good part. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I just added these other pictures I had. So the box cars, you move stuff, and then you'd also take stuff to the dump, which would get uh, you know, weighed and scaled, and then they'd give us some money for that, and we take it back for the organization. And then yeah, I just included my timesheet as well. Um, so I did do the full 12 hours. I just did them in 3 separate days. What you see here, I do have 3 separate days. And yeah, that's about my presentation. Thank you for your time.